The silent betrayal. The stars hung like distant lanterns across the viewport of Horizon Station, Earth's premier diplomatic outpost situated in the neutral zone between human space and the territories of 7 different alien civilizations. Commander Eliza Chen stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the slow rotation of a nearby nebula that cast prismatic colors across the reinforced glass. After 15 years of service to the Earth Federation, she'd earned this prestigious assignment, a symbol of humanity's peaceful integration into the galactic community. Commander, the Viridian delegation has requested permission to dock, Lieutenant Harlow announced from his console. They're ahead of schedule by nearly 6 hours. Chen raised an eyebrow, but maintained her composed demeanor. Interesting. Did they provide a reason? They claim their ambassador received urgent instructions to discuss trade amendments. Nothing that suggests any concern. Chen nodded, though something about the situation felt off. The Viridians were meticulous about schedules, almost religiously so. In the 3 years since first contact, they had never once arrived early or late to a diplomatic function. Grant them clearance, but implement standard security protocol Delta. Have Ambassador Williams meet me in the reception chamber. Harlow acknowledged the order, and Chen made her way through the gleaming corridors of Horizon. The station housed over 300 personnel, diplomats, scientists, security officers, and support staff. Many had brought families, believing in the safety of this symbol of interspecies cooperation. Chen passed a classroom where human and alien children learned side by side, a sight that never failed to give her hope for the future. Ambassador Williams was already waiting when she arrived, his typically relaxed expression replaced with concern. "Early arrivals aren't the Viridian way," he said without preamble. "I know. Keep the conversation flowing while I have security run deeper scans on their vessel." The docking procedure completed with textbook precision. The airlock cycled, and 6 Viridians entered, tall, slender beings with iridescent skin that shifted between deep blues and purples. Their ambassador, Philox, led the procession with the formal bow typical of their culture. "Commander Chen, Ambassador Williams, we appreciate your accommodation of our unexpected timing," Philox said, his translator rendering his complex vocal patterns into smooth English. The Horizon Station exists to facilitate diplomatic dialogue. Chen responded with the customary phrase, "What urgent matter brings you to us today?" Philox's skin rippled with color patterns that Chen had never seen before. Recent developments within the Viridian Alliance have necessitated a realignment of our trade agreements. Williams stepped forward. "Perhaps we could discuss these developments over refreshments. We've recently received a shipment of Centaurian tea that I believe complements Viridian biology quite well." As they moved toward the conference room, Chen's communicator vibrated against her wrist. A text-only message from security. Anomalous energy readings from Viridian vessel. Weapon signatures detected despite diplomatic clearance. Chen kept her expression neutral as she quickly sent back. "Initiate silent evacuation of civilian sectors. Alert Earth Defense Command. Prepare emergency protocols." They had barely reached the conference room when Chen's world exploded into chaos. A deafening blast rocked the station, followed by the shriek of tearing metal and the station's emergency alarms. The artificial gravity fluctuated wildly, sending furniture sliding across the floor. "What is the meaning of this?" Chen demanded, already knowing the answer as she watched Philox's skin shift to a deep crimson, a color she would later learn signified battle readiness among their kind. "The realignment I spoke of," Philox said coldly, "is the Viridian Alliance's decision that humanity has expanded far enough. Your species reproduces too quickly, adapts too readily, and questions too deeply. The Alliance has deemed you a long-term threat." Another explosion shook the station. Emergency lighting bathed everything in red as the regular illumination failed. "You attacked a diplomatic station," Williams gasped, horror evident in his voice. "There are children here." "A regrettable necessity in the greater calculation," Philox responded without emotion. "Your species' potential cannot be allowed to develop further." The Alliance has studied your history, your rapid technological evolution, your resilience in the face of setbacks. In a mere century, you progressed from primitive atmospheric flight to faster-than-light travel. Given another century, the models predict you would surpass civilizations thousands of years your senior. Chen lunged for the emergency beacon on her wrist, but one of the Viridian delegates moved with startling speed, knocking her aside. The station rocked again, and the artificial gravity failed completely. "Commander," William shouted as he pushed off against a wall, floating toward her. "The civilian evacuation." His words ended in a gurgle as Thalox drew a weapon Chen had never seen before and fired. A pulse of energy caught Williams in the chest, his body convulsing before going limp. Using the momentary distraction, Chen kicked off the floor and launched herself through the doorway, sealing the emergency bulkhead behind her. The station's damage control systems were already working, compartmentalizing sections to prevent catastrophic decompression. "Station-wide alert," she gasped into her communicator as she propelled herself through the corridors. "This is not a drill. We are under attack. All civilian personnel to evacuation pods. Security teams implement Defense Protocol Omega." Around her, the station was coming apart. Through viewport windows, she could see multiple Viridian vessels firing on Horizon's outer structures. They'd brought a war fleet disguised as escort ships, using diplomatic clearance to bypass the station's defenses. Chen reached the emergency command center, where Lieutenant Harlow was coordinating the evacuation. "Civilian status," she demanded. "Pods 1 through 17 away," he reported, his face ashen. "But we've lost contact with the residential sector after the third hit. Estimated civilian casualties already at 40%. Chen fought to maintain her composure as she activated the quantum communication array, the station's direct line to Earth Defense Command. "This is Commander Eliza Chen of Horizon Station. We are under unprovoked attack by the Viridian Alliance. Multiple ships, heavy weapons. They've declared humanity a threat to be eliminated. Civilian casualties," her voice broke momentarily, "are significant. We cannot hold. Sending all tactical data now. This may be our last transmission. Let Earth know this was premeditated genocide." She hit the transmission button as another blast rocked the station, severing power to half the remaining systems. The quantum array flickered and died. "Commander," Harlow said quietly, "structural integrity is failing. We have maybe 10 minutes before complete collapse." Chen nodded. "Get to the last escape pods. Save as many as you can. And you." She moved to the central console. "Someone needs to ensure our black box recorders survive. Earth needs to know exactly what happened here." She met his eyes. "That's an order, Lieutenant." Reluctantly, Harlow departed, leaving Chen alone in the failing command center. She worked frantically, transferring all station logs, security footage, and sensor data to the reinforced memory cores, designed to survive even the complete destruction of the station. As the walls groaned around her and warning lights flashed critical failures in all systems, Chen finished her work. She had just enough time to reach the last emergency pod, but as she turned to leave, the bulkhead doors burst open and Thalox entered with 2 of his guards. "You cannot be allowed to escape, Commander," he said. "Your testimony would complicate matters." Chen smiled grimly. "You've already failed. The message is sent. The data is preserved." She straightened her uniform in a final gesture of dignity. "And you have made the greatest mistake in your species' history." Thalox tilted his head curiously. "What would that be?" "You studied our history, but you missed its most important lesson." She met his alien gaze without flinching. "Humanity, when cornered, doesn't cower. We strike back tenfold." The station shuddered violently, and a massive section of ceiling collapsed between them. Chen seized the opportunity, diving through a maintenance shaft as Thalox fired after her. She made it to the final escape pod with seconds to spare, launching away from the dying station just as its reactor went critical. The pod's small viewport offered a final view of Horizon Station. humanity's pride and symbol of peaceful cooperation, as it broke apart in a series of catastrophic explosions. Among the debris, Viridian ships were already moving away, their mission accomplished. Or so they thought. As the emergency beacon activated and the pod began its long journey toward the nearest human outpost, Chen watched the receding destruction with tears streaming down her face. Tears for the lives lost, for the peace shattered. But something else burned within her that dried those tears almost immediately. The absolute certainty that Earth would respond with a fury the galaxy had never witnessed. 17 light-years away, in the reinforced war room beneath Earth's unified defense headquarters, Admiral Victor Lange stood in stunned silence as Commander Chen's final transmission played for the third time. Around the table, the highest-ranking military and political leaders of humanity sat in similar shock, the implications of what they'd just witnessed sinking in. Confirmation on casualties. President Evelyn Santos finally asked, her voice steady despite the horror evident in her eyes. Still coming in from the automated emergency beacons, General Takahashi responded. Current estimate is 217 dead, including 43 children. Some escape pods are still transmitting, so we hope to find survivors. The room fell silent again until Admiral Lange spoke, his deep voice carrying the weight of 4 decades in Earth's defense forces. They believe they've struck a crippling first blow against an unprepared species. He looked around the table. They have no idea what they've awakened. President Santos nodded slowly. Admiral, it appears the situation merits implementation of Directive Prometheus. The other officials exchanged glances. Directive Prometheus had been created in secret 10 years earlier, a contingency plan for exactly this scenario. An unprovoked existential attack on humanity by a superior alien force. Madam President, Admiral Lange acknowledged, with your authorization, I'll activate Project Thunderstrike effective immediately. You have it. The President stood, addressing the entire room. Let this be absolutely clear. The Viridian Alliance has committed an act of war against humanity. They targeted civilians, children, and diplomatic personnel under the protection of interstellar law. They believe us weak. They believe us unprepared. Her eyes hardened. We will show them exactly how wrong they are. As the meeting adjourned and leaders moved to their respective emergency stations, Admiral Lange approached a secure terminal and entered a complex sequence of commands. Deep beneath the lunar surface, in massive hangars hidden from both Earth and space observation, lights began to activate on vessels that officially did not exist. The Thunderstrike fleet was awakening. The reckoning storm. Commander Jackson Reed stood on the bridge of the EFS Retribution, watching as his crew prepared the most advanced warship humanity had ever built for its first actual combat deployment. For 7 years, the Thunderstrike fleet had remained humanity's best-kept secret, 26 vessels incorporating technological innovations that Earth had deliberately kept hidden from their alien contacts. All systems green. Commander, his executive officer, Lieutenant Commander Diane Harper, reported. Quantum shields at full capacity. Graviton weapons primed. Stealth systems operational. Reed nodded, his expression grim. The crew of the Retribution, like those of the other Thunderstrike vessels, had been training for this moment while the rest of humanity presented a peaceful face to the galaxy. They had hoped these ships would never be needed. Now they represented Earth's best chance for survival. Status of the fleet? Reed asked. All vessels report ready, sir. Admiral Lange has transmitted the final attack coordinates and strategic objectives. Reed surveyed the bridge crew, each face reflecting the same determination he felt. Most had lost friends or family on Horizon Station. This wasn't just a military response, it was personal. Communications, patch me through to all Thunderstrike vessels. The officer complied, and Reed took a moment to gather his thoughts before speaking. This is Commander Reed. In a few minutes, we will execute the first coordinated military response in humanity's interstellar history. The Viridians believe they struck a defenseless species. that we would crumble or beg for mercy. They based this assessment on the face we chose to show the galaxy. Explorers, diplomats, traitors. He paused. They forgot that humanity's history is also written in blood and fire. When threatened, we do not yield. When attacked, we do not falter. And when our children are murdered, we do not rest until justice is served. He looked around at his crew. The Viridians expect retaliation, but they expect it months from now. A hastily assembled defense force using technology they've already analyzed and found wanting. They do not expect us today, with weapons they've never seen, using tactics they cannot predict. We strike not for vengeance alone, but to secure humanity's future among the stars. Execute your duties with precision. Remember Horizon Station. Remember Earth depends on us. Thunderstrike Fleet, prepare for synchronized jump. The transmission ended, and Reed returned to his command chair. Navigation, initiate jump countdown. Weapons, prepare initial targeting solutions based on Admiral Lang's priority list. Medical, ready all trauma teams. The massive engines of the Retribution hummed as they generated the quantum field necessary for faster-than-light travel. Unlike conventional human FTL drives, which the Viridians and other species had studied, the Thunderstrike vessels utilized a revolutionary phase shift technology that allowed them to appear directly in a target system with no warning signature. Jump in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Execute. Reality twisted around the Retribution, and suddenly the vessel emerged in orbit around Virid Prime, the homeworld of the Viridian Alliance. Simultaneously, the other 25 ships of the Thunderstrike fleet appeared at predetermined coordinates throughout the Viridian home system, targeting military installations, shipyards, and defense platforms. Multiple Viridian vessels detected. The tactical officer reported. They're scrambling to battle stations, but we've achieved complete tactical surprise. Reed nodded. Begin Phase 1. Target their primary defense grid with graviton lances. Disable, don't destroy. The Retribution fired, releasing concentrated beams of gravitational energy that overwhelmed Viridian shield systems without killing the operators. Throughout the system, other Thunderstrike vessels were doing the same, systematically neutralizing the Viridian defense capability while minimizing casualties. On the main view screen, Reed watched as confusion spread through the Viridian fleet. Their ships moved in disarray, unable to establish an effective response against an enemy using weapons and tactics they'd never encountered. "Commander," Harper said, "we're being hailed by what appears to be the Viridian High Command." On screen, the image of a Viridian military leader appeared, his skin cycling rapidly between colors that expressed shock and outrage. "This is Archon Krell of the Viridian Defense Force. Your unprovoked attack on our sovereign system violates all principles off." "Unprovoked," Reed interrupted, his voice deadly calm. "Horizon Station. 217 dead, including 43 children. Your diplomatic vessels opened fire without warning on an unarmed station. I have the recording of your Ambassador Tholox explaining that the Viridian Alliance deemed humanity a long-term threat to be eliminated before we could reach our potential." The Archon's colors stabilized into a deep blue. "If certain elements of our diplomatic corps overstepped." "This wasn't the action of certain elements," Reed cut in again. "Our intelligence confirms this attack was sanctioned by your full Alliance Council. You believed Earth weak, divided, and technologically inferior. You believed wrong." As if to emphasize his point, another Thunderstrike vessel executed a precision strike against a major Viridian military base, the quantum shields of the human ship effortlessly absorbing return fire. "These are merely warning shots, Archon," Reed continued. "We've deliberately targeted military installations while avoiding civilian casualties, something your forces didn't bother with at Horizon. We could have arrived in your system with planet-killer weapons. We chose not to, because unlike you, we don't believe in genocide." The Archon's skin now pulsed with a pattern Reed's cultural database identified as indicating extreme distress. "What do you want?" Admiral Lange will arrive within the hour to present Earth's terms. Until then, order your forces to stand down. Any vessel that powers weapons will be disabled. Any further aggression will be met with appropriate force. The transmission ended, and Reed turned to Harper. Status of Thunderstrike operations. Proceeding as planned, sir. Viridian military capability is 70% neutralized. Minimal casualties on both sides. Reed nodded, satisfied. Maintain position. Continue disabling any vessels that resist. True to Reed's word, Admiral Lange's flagship, the EF's Judgment, arrived precisely 1 hour later, escorted by 5 additional Thunderstrike vessels that had been held in reserve. The aging Admiral transferred to the Viridian High Command's orbital headquarters, where the full Alliance Council awaited. From the Retribution, Reed watched the transmission as Admiral Lange, straight-backed despite his 70 years, addressed the architects of the attack on Horizon Station. "I come representing not just Earth, but all of humanity," Lange began. "Today, you have witnessed only a fraction of what we are capable of when provoked. The Thunderstrike fleet represents technology we developed but chose not to reveal, not out of deception, but because we wished to join the galactic community as partners, not as threats." He placed a data crystal on the table before them. "These are Earth's terms. They are non-negotiable." The terms were displayed on screens around the chamber. The Viridian Alliance will acknowledge its act of unprovoked aggression against Horizon Station and provide full reparations to the families of all victims. Those responsible for ordering the attack will stand trial under interspecies law. The Viridian Alliance will surrender its long-range offensive capabilities to a neutral third party for a period of 50 Earth years. A permanent human military presence will be established in Viridian space to ensure compliance. The Viridian Alliance will publicly acknowledge humanity's right to exist and develop without interference. "This is occupation," one council member protested, skin flashing angry red. "This is mercy," Lange corrected. "Had we applied your logic, eliminating a potential future threat, we would have been justified in reducing your major military installations to dust. Instead, we offer you a path to peace." The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. They had gambled that humanity would be an easy target, only to discover they had awakened a sleeping giant. "You have 1 hour to accept these terms," Lange concluded. "If you refuse, we will depart your system peacefully, but you will never know when or where we might return. Humanity does not forget its dead." Predictably, the Viridian Alliance accepted the terms. News of the swift and decisive human response spread rapidly through the galaxy, fundamentally altering perceptions of Earth and its capabilities. Species that had viewed humans as newcomers to be manipulated or controlled suddenly reassessed their positions. 3 weeks later, Commander Reeves stood beside Admiral Lange on the observation deck of the lunar base, where the Thunderstrike fleet had been conceived and built. Below them, engineers were already constructing the next generation of vessels, incorporating lessons learned from the brief conflict. "The Viridians miscalculated badly," Reed observed. Lange nodded. "They studied our history but missed its essence. Humanity has never been defined by our technology or our numbers, but by our response to adversity. When pushed, we don't just push back, we evolve. Do you think they'll try again? Or will others?" The Admiral gazed thoughtfully at the fleet below. "Perhaps, but now they know. Humanity won't be an easy conquest. We come in peace, but we're prepared for war. And that knowledge might just be enough to ensure we rarely have to prove it again." In the darkness of space, the memorial beacon at the coordinates where Horizon Station once orbited continued its endless transmission, a simple message written in every known language of the galaxy. Here humanity extended its hand in peace. Remember what happened. Remember what followed. Choose wisely.